In this video, I'm going to show you the proper way to shorten the handlebars of your mountain bike. I'll be shortening a pair of 800s down to 780. A lot of bars today will have a guide on the bar to show you where to cut to make it a 780, a 760, 740, whatever. So they're 800s, I want to make them 780, so that means I got to trim 10 millimeters off each side. I'll be showing how to do this with a bar that's already off the bike, brand new one, or a bar that's on the bike. I'll also talk about cutting carbon bars versus aluminum. If your handlebar is alloy or aluminum, or aluminium if you're in the UK, you can use a tube cutter. This is really easy to use. You can get these pretty much at any hardware store, and you just tighten it down, just rotate it around and tighten it a little bit more each time, and it'll finally cut. If you're cutting a carbon bar, do not, I repeat, do not try to use a tube cutter. You will damage your handlebar and probably not be able to use it, and it would not be safe to ride. If you're shortening a carbon handlebar, you need to use a hacksaw. So this is the hacksaw that I've used to cut handlebars and steerer tubes of forks. You can get away without using a cutting guide. However, I would recommend using a cutting guide because it makes the cut more precise. So this is a Park cutting guide. Specifically, it's an SG-6. And this is made specifically for cutting fork steerer tubes and handlebars, and even seat posts for that matter. It's really easy to use. All you do is you clamp it in after you've measured 3 times to make sure you're getting it right, and then you cut. If you're cutting with something off the bike, handlebars off the bike, then you would clamp this end into a bench vise. Again, I'm going to show you how to do that on these handlebars. The first handlebars that we're going to cut are on the bike. Let's go ahead and get started, and I'll show you the steps that I go through to do that. The first thing that I'm going to do is just bring some of my components in. So I'm going to bring my shift lever and brake lever in. Now you can actually remove these from the bike if you want to take your grip off and take these off. I'm not going to, because I'm only going to trim 10 millimeters and I don't need that much space to work with. So I've got to move my shifter. This is a axis shifter, so I've got to move that in and move the brake lever in. So I've slid these inward a little bit. Now I'm just going to move the grip. If you have a lock-on grip, all you got to do is loosen the bolts and slide it in. This is a foam grip, so I'm going to use an air compressor just to move this in a bit. With the grip moved out of the way, you can see the guide that's on this bar. So that line is 790, that line is 780. So 780 is going to be 10 millimeters in, since this is again an 800 bar, and we're going to take 10 millimeters off each side to make it a 780. So 10 millimeters on this side and 10 millimeters on the other side. Now I've got the cutting guide in place, and I actually had to move the grip in just a little bit more because I didn't have enough space for the cutting guide. So I've got the cutting guide on, and I can drop the hacksaw in, by the way, and see that it touches that line that's 780. Again, measure twice or 3 times and then cut. Now for a couple safety items that are very important. If you're cutting carbon, make sure you put a mask on. You do not want to breathe all the carbon dust. Now what I do is I actually put a vacuum cleaner underneath what I'm cutting, and that sucks in the carbon dust so it doesn't go flying everywhere. And whether you're cutting carbon or aluminum, please make sure you put on safety glasses. If you're cutting a carbon bar, you're pretty much done. Just do the other side, but put your grips back to where they go, and then put your brake levers and whatever components you need. If you're cutting an aluminum bar, it's always a good idea to use a file to kind of just get the little burrs off the side and maybe even on the inside. And that applies to whether you're using a hacksaw or especially a tube cutter. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like to cut a bar that's off the bike just using a bench vise and the cutting guide. So this is what it looks like when you clamp a bar in the cutting guide that's also clamped into a bench vise. So pretty much same procedure. Put on your safety glasses, your mask. Again, if you want to use a vacuum cleaner to keep the carbon dust from flying everywhere, you can do that, but you just cut it just like I just did when it was on the bike. So that is how you shorten your mountain bike handlebars. Easy peasy. Use a cutting guide if you can. It really makes the job easier. Not crucial, If you want to get a really straight cut, I would recommend using one or using a tube cutter on an alloy bar. Any questions or comments that you have, drop those below, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more maintenance videos, ride videos, bike reviews, and gear reviews. Thanks for watching.